This is Terrence Andre Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions, coming to you with an article that came out in November from Zillow.com about the silver tsunami, which is basically baby boomers, and what are they going to do about all the homes once they start leaving them. Article was dated November 22nd, 2019. I stumbled across this. I was just looking at some properties, doing some research just in terms of areas. I just said, ooh, look at Zillow. Came across this article, definitely worth your time. It's pretty lengthy. I'm going to kind of skim through it and leave you to look at it at your leisure by putting the link inside the description. Happy New Year. This is just a fascinating time, especially when Zillow is putting out information that the silver tsunami, which areas will be flooded with homes once boomers start leaving them. If you're in one of these areas, it might be an opportunity for you as the prices decrease, because everything's just been going up ridiculously and it's just so out of whack. Over the next 20 years, more than a quarter, 27.4% of the nation's currently owned occupied homes are likely to hit the market as their current owners pass away or otherwise vacate their homes. Places likely to be mostly impacted by this upcoming silver tsunami include both retirement hubs, Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and Tuscan, and regions where young residents have left, Cleveland, Dayton, Knoxville, and Pittsburgh. The impact of the silver tsunami is also likely to vary greatly across different areas within metros. The places likely to be less impacted include those with vibrant economies featuring fast growth and affordable housing that act as magnets of younger residents: Atlanta, Austin, Dallas, and Houston. Housing released by the silver tsunami will provide a substantial and sustained boost to housing supply, comparable in magnitude to the fluctuations that new home construction experienced in the 2000s boom-bust cycle. It seems likely that in the coming 2 decades, the construction industry will need to place a greater focus on updating existing properties in addition to supplying and building new homes. The massive baby boom generation has already begun aging into retirement and will begin passing away in large numbers in coming decades, releasing a flood of currently owned and occupied homes that could hit the market. That could help end the last few years' inventory drought, as well as more of a fundamental shortage of homes in certain places. What they don't say about that is that with that many homes hitting the market, hopefully the prices might be becoming more reasonable, but they have to sell them. And it's just going to, when you're having that much thing and you increase that supply and they continue to build right now with prices being overpriced, it's going to definitely do something. And I'm going on the price is going to definitely have to go down. Currently, 33.9% of owner-occupied used homes are by residents ages 60 or older, and 55.2% by residents aged 50 or older. As these households age and begin vacating housing, that could represent upwards of 20 million homes hitting the market through the mid-2030s. But while virtually all areas will feel the effects to some degree, this wave won't hit all at once and won't strike all markets equally. Certain markets will be more impacted than others, as will certain kinds of areas within a given market. The silver tsunami will rise progressively in the 2020s and 2030s. An estimate based on mortality data shows that the silver tsunami will hit in earnest as the numbers of seniors aged 60 or older who will pass away each year rises during the 2020s and 2030s. An alternative estimate, data using on recent home ownership trends by age and cohort, suggests that homes released by 2027 will comprise about 1 in 8, 12% of today's owner-occupied housing stock, and that by 2037, that share will be more than double to 27.4%. Look at that, it's just a lot of homes. Older communities and retirement hubs hit hardest. Affordable growing cities attracted to the youngest least affected. The silver tsunami will strike nationwide, impacting between 1/5 and 1/3 of the current owner-occupied housing stock in every metro analyzed. Well-known retirement destinations including Miami, Orlando, Tampa, and Tuscan will experience the most housing turnover in the wake of the silver tsunami, and the number of future retirees choosing to make these homes places during their golden years fails to match generations past, and local housing demand fades. These areas may then end up with excess housing, with all the areas they talked about here. Tampa, Tuscan, Miami, Orlando, Dayton, North, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Albuquerque, Buffalo, Virginia Beach, Milwaukee, Sacramento, Jacksonville, Las Vegas. Wow. It's just showing you where these areas are going to be hitting the most. Regions including Cleveland, Dayton, Knoxville, and Pittsburgh. I kind of glanced over because it's a lengthy article, but again, I'm putting this link inside the description for you to go through it. Most likely to see bigger effects from the silver tsunami. Younger residents have tended to leave these areas in recent decades, in many cases pursuing better job opportunities elsewhere, leaving older generations make up a large share of those who remain. And some regions will see smaller disposable shares of the owner-occupied housing stock release. These include Salt Lake City, where fewer than 1 in 5 households, 18% is 55 or older, compared to 28% nationwide in Atlanta, Austin, Dallas, and Houston, all of which tend to be fast-growing and relatively affordable because they are both economically vibrant and largely willing and able to expand and develop footprints. These metros offer an affordable alternative to expensive coastal cities. The expensive coastal cities are also attractive to many residents, but they impose burdensome housing costs, especially younger residents just starting out. In contrast, cheap but vibrant areas generally tend to attract the young and have younger age distribution as a result, reducing the exposure to the silver tsunami. I'm curious, but what if you have an overflux and prices come down to be more reasonable? People still go into those areas as well, unless there's no jobs in those areas, which would be another discussion. Still, the difference in the share of homes released by seniors between metros are small compared to the differences within them. The most impacted areas with a given region often contain formally defined or informal but de facto retirement communities, typically on the fringes of larger metro areas and locations rich with second homes, and former second homes turned primary residence in retirement. Examples include Palm Springs, east of Los Angeles, the Hamptons, or the far eastern end of Long Island, New York, and the island of Nantucket off the coast of Cape Cod, southeast Boston. But in many areas, the most impacted areas appear to be pricey, relatively exclusive enclaves of older residents with otherwise mixed surroundings, including the Upper East Side in Manhattan and the Lafayette, Orinda, Walnut Creek area of San Francisco. These areas have been more affluent and expensive compared to the surroundings for decades, which has been made less affordable to the young. Younger, more affordable neighborhoods are likely to have a younger mix of residents, and they can therefore expect to be less impacted out of the silver tsunami. Unlike popular retirement communities that may suffer from a depth of housing demand down the line, these older, long affluent enclaves may see more demand pour in from neighboring areas and more residents churn when the silver tsunami brings more homes on the market. Silver tsunami are a substitute for new home construction. The release of older residents' homes into the market adds net supply to the market. Similar to new construction, most existing sales involve a seller who is almost simultaneously also a buyer, contributing to both supply and demand for housing. That is important because new construction has failed to return its historical production levels in the years following the Great Recession. Home builders face challenges are likely to endure for a long period. These include construction labor issues and difficulties in accessing capital, as well as issues related to the shift in demand towards locations closer to the metropolitan core, where vacant lots are scarce and redevelopment is more constrained than ever. New home construction activity skews towards the metropolitan periphery, where much of the existing housing set to be released by seniors in coming decades is better located to meet growing demand for living closer to the center. Finally, more homes coming into market in high demands, if we combine with local changes to land use policy that allow for more density, could spur more construction of small and mid-sized multi-unit properties by providing developers more opportunities to acquire lots, and by making it easier to assemble them into larger ones. In the decade from 2007 to 2017, roughly 730,000 U.S. homes were released into the market each year by seniors aged 60 or older. From 2017 to 2027, and from 2027 to 2037, that number is set to rise to 920,000 and 1.17 million per year, respectively, in addition to about 440,000 homes annually by the second decade. There is no doubt the silver tsunami substantially boosts the supply of housing, but will that be enough to counteract rates of new construction that are currently low in historical terms? New homes peaked at 1.28 million sales per year in 2005. It hit bottom in 2011 and 310,000 new homes sold, a difference of almost 1 million per year. In 2008, it's clocked in at 620,000, double recent lows, but still weak, well off peak levels. A swing of that magnitude is larger than silver tsunami's boost of 440,000 homes per year. But because the silver tsunami boost to the housing supply will be sustained over the course of several decades, rather than sometimes sharp to year fluctuation in new home construction, it makes more sense to compare longer time periods from 2000 to 2009. Spanning the last decade, housing boom in early years of the subsequent bust, an average of 900,000 new homes were sold each year. Between 2009 and 2018, spawning the bulk of the bust and most of the sluggish recovery that followed. There were only 450,000 new home sales per year on average. The difference of 450,000 new home sales per year is comparable in magnitude to the silver tsunami boost. The silver tsunami boosts the supply of housing on the magnitude compared to the fluctuation that the new home construction experienced in 2000's boom-bust cycle. Of course, whether that means there will be a glut or continued shortage of housing depends on how new construction fares, crucially on future demand for housing. Whether housing released by the silver tsunami is appropriately located, priced, and to meet future demand could be an important issue as well. What seems most likely is amid all that uncertainty that in the coming 2 decades, the construction industry will need to place a greater emphasis than before on updating existing properties, in addition to building new ones. The construction industry may be bracing for a tsunami of new housing supply that crowds out new development, but renovation could be where the real silver is at. Again, I've kind of read that quickly. Definitely worth your time, especially as we hit the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. This is I didn't go through the data methodology or the notes, but you can read that at your leisure. If this video has been any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments. And to my next video, I'm out.